Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. While the detector rapidly searched for hidden dangers, Luo Feng stood still, making no reckless movements. I have two options, thought Luo Feng. First, I can explore this unknown place and find a way out. Second, through the God Country transportation, I can be sent back to the human race's domain, then to Borhinia Island, then back to 9 remoteness space. Eyes as sharp as blades, Luo Feng examined his surroundings. It was quiet here. Apart from the beautiful plants, there were no other creatures. I'm getting out on my own, he said. I can make it if I'm careful. According to the Ancestral God School's briefing for the heirs, this place is not listed as dangerous. I don't want to waste a dozen of days by departing from Borhinia Island again. By then, I'm afraid I'll need to go through that void area again. What if I were sent to this place a second time? Soon, a plethora of data appeared on the screen on Luo Feng's protective sleeve. Luo Feng lowered his head to look at it. Everything looks normal, Luo Feng said. He frowned slightly. Then I'm leaving. Luo Feng chose a direction and flew across the sky. A natural wormhole is found, the detector suddenly alerted Luo Feng. A natural wormhole, said Luo Feng. He had been flying as a beam of light, but he slowed down immediately. He looked at the map displayed on the detector to verify the location and rushed toward the wormhole. After flying for tens of millions of miles, Luo Feng arrived at a mountain. He stared at the slightly distorted space in front of him. A wormhole, here, he said. Wormholes were common throughout the universe. Each one connected two places, sometimes spanning vast distances. If one were to step into a wormhole, they would instantly reappear at the opposite end. For a wormhole to be found in deep space was normal, but it was unusual to see one in the secret region. Where does this wormhole lead to? Luo Feng wondered. He considered, then came up with an idea. A streak of black air flew up and condensed into a muscular man, Luo Feng's Mosha clan body. Even if this Mosha body is destroyed, he said, I can condense another one and send him here via God Country transportation. Since Luo Feng was a token gatherer, his soul slaves could easily sense him telekinetically. The Mosha body was cautious at first, but then he flew into the wormhole. The moment the Mosha body crossed the wormhole, he instantly arrived at another place. What? Mosha body said, gazing at an enormous basin in front of him. Among the basin was a lake with over 6,000 miles in width. Above the lake floated a cone-shaped peak over 600 miles high. A lake. And a floating peak. Mosha body said. He was a bit surprised to find that he could easily sense the location of his earthling deity. My earthling deity is probably less than 6 billion miles from here. The distance between them was so short that Mosha body could reach his earthling deity by teleportation. The deity of Luo Feng continued flying. He had learned about the situations on the other end of the wormhole, but he hadn't rushed to investigate. There were other matters to attend to. Moments later, the detector alerted him, another natural wormhole is found. Another one? Luo Feng was stunned. He flew toward the location indicated by the detector. This wormhole was in a river. Luo Feng dared not enter the stream recklessly. Instead, he summoned his Mosha body and let him try. Mosha body dove into the river. Nothing special about the water other than its high density, Mosha body quickly confirmed. Using his strength of a world, Luo Feng condensed a large clay pot and filled it with the water of the river. I will study it after leaving this place, he told himself. His Mosha body went into the wormhole in the river. The other end of the wormhole was also underwater. Mosha body was stupefied as he rose to the surface of the water and looked around. My gosh! A cone-shaped peak floated above the vast lake, which was contained within a crater-like basin. The first wormhole ended on the shore of the lake, said Mosha body, while the second ended in the lake. The two wormholes lead to the same place. Mosha body was at a loss. Bewildered by Mosha body's findings, Luo Feng continued moving ahead and soon found a third wormhole. This time, Mosha body went through the wormhole and discovered that it led to another bank of the lake. As Luo Feng continued, another wormhole appeared, which led to the surface of the lake. One after another, 9 wormholes were discovered. Eventually, the impatient Luo Feng stopped flying. He teleported himself to the lakeside. How weird, he said. Standing beside the lake, he surveyed the floating, cone-shaped peak before him. The 9 wormholes all lead here. Maybe this is what makes the dangerous place special. 10,081 wormholes are found, the detector said. Luo Feng looked down at the screen on his protective sleeve, wide-eyed. What? The screen indicated the positions of the wormholes. What gave him chills was that the 10,081 wormholes seemed to be arranged like a giant beehive that completely covered the cone-shaped peak. They formed a pattern similar to his Mosha body's life core, which had 10,081 cut surfaces spread with very intricate law engravings that represented the space laws. The more unique a place is, said Luofeng, the greater the possibility that it contains treasures. And vice versa, a place with treasures is naturally dangerous. Numerous heirs over time had encountered the same experience. If anyone found treasures at a place without encountering any danger, it was only because great beings of the past had already tackled the hazards. Luofeng looked at the cone-shaped peak. He felt that it was the most suspicious, but he couldn't afford to go in by himself. What if a dangerous and unique life form like the cold whale lived inside the peak, and Luofeng's trespassing alarmed it? If it swallowed Luofeng's earthling body, it would be difficult for him to retrieve his Shawu wings and Tower Pearl. Luofeng said, "Go find out where these 10,081 wormholes lead to." His Mosha body immediately flew toward one wormhole in the air. After entering the wormhole, Mosha body arrived on the other end swiftly. It was a silent desert about 19 billion miles away from the lake. Mosha body returned to the lake and went into another wormhole. As his Mosha body rapidly explored the wormholes, Luofeng gradually got more familiar with the situation in this mysterious place. All these wormholes led to numerous locations within this strange place. The furthest one was about 75 billion miles away from here. What startled Luofeng the most was that in 3 areas, he had found some shattered armor and broken weapons, but no treasures. Heirs have special status, he said, holding a piece of broken armor. They are very likely to possess treasures. These broken and worthless pieces of armor indicate that some life forms, probably heirs, have been here. However, not a single valuable treasure, not even a world ring, has been left behind. Perhaps some survivors or the natives of this mysterious place have taken away the treasures. I doubt many heirs have been here. If they had been, the information about this place would have been more substantial. If survivors do exist, why don't they send out the intelligence about this mysterious place? Luofeng considered the matter. Luofeng drew back hastily. Through a spatial wormhole, he retreated to a location over 6 billion miles away. My earthling deity should stay away from this, he concluded. I will send my Mosha body to explore the place. Mosha body flew toward the cone-shaped peak floating in the air and observed it. According to the detector, there were 10,081 caves densely distributed on the mountain. Since every cave was only 10 or 12 feet high, these caves seemed insignificant compared to the peak. Mosha body flew inside one cave. Nothing but stones, he said. As Mosha body grabbed one of the stones, the wall of the cave suddenly filled with streaks of silver light. Mosha body felt like a formidable force had attacked him so fiercely that his body had been shattered to pieces. And then, as black airflow circulated, Mosha body recovered. What the heck, he shouted stupefied. Mosha body gazed at the seemingly normal wall. Every stone is integral to the wall. It's like the wall is alive. My Sector Lord Pinnacle energy is somewhat weak. I wonder what would happen if my earthling deity came and picked up the stones. Mosha body kept moving ahead carefully. The cave was very serene and deep, and the spatial ripple here felt somewhat unusual. There were no plants to be seen. Just the empty wall within the cave. After walking for hundreds of miles, Mosha body finally arrived at the central region of the cone-shaped peak. In the middle was a pool divided into 5 smaller pools. The color of the water in every pool was different, and every pool produced powerful but unique auras, such as the aura of flames and the aura as sharp as gold. Above the 5-colored pool were numerous spatial cracks that repeatedly appeared and disappeared. Enclosed within the spatial cracks, which were arranged like a gigantic, stunning beehive, was a globe-shaped crystal suspended in the air. It had 10,081 cut surfaces, some of which appeared to flow like water while others leapt up like transparent flames or grew like plants. Treasure, Mosha body said, staring at the globe-shaped crystal attentively. But where are the dangers? Even an idiot could tell that this atypical crystal was a treasure, and the 5-colored pool beneath it was extraordinary. But Mosha body dared not approach the crystal recklessly. It was clear that this mysterious place was unstable. The globe-shaped crystal had created numerous cracks in the area, and if its energy exploded completely, it would destroy Mosha body in an instant. According to Luofeng's understanding of the secret region, apart from the danger of the treasure itself, there were usually additional hazards. Cautiously, Mosha body observed the 5-colored pool, the crystal globe, the tranquil environment around him, and the entire peak, which seemed to be alive. Mosha body observed the 5-colored pool and the floating crystal ball. At the same time, inside a canyon 10 billion kilometers away, Luofeng hid in a cave of the cliff wall, sitting with his legs crossed. I'll check where the 5-colored pool and crystal ball come from first, said Luofeng, connected to the virtual universe with his mind. Inside the study room of Luofeng's manor in Yuseong Mountain. Luofeng turned on the laptop on the desk and started to search. He uploaded the picture to the internet with his mind. This was an advantage only humans possessed, the ability to search in the virtual universe whenever they came across danger or unknown treasures. Of course, different humans had different clearance levels. The more mystical the treasures were, the higher the clearance level required. Ever since Luo Feng had become famous under the name of Blade River Emperor, his clearance level had increased higher than the average universe knight. Luo Feng, I found it, shouted Barbata on Luo Feng's shoulder. Huh! Luo Feng frowned and stared at the screen. He clicked the link on the top, and the virtual universe provided a precise answer to Luo Feng's question. The five-colored pool, called five-colored abyss flower, only looked like a pool. However, there was no water inside, and it was composed of 5 portals leading to the origin point of the universe. It absorbed the 5-element original powers and gathered them here. There was normally a space heart inside the 5-colored abyss flower. The crystal ball was the space heart and could only be formed after an eternity within 5-colored abyss flower. It had 10,081 facets when it became spherical and required a longer time for it to become solid. When it was becoming solid, there would be an evolution of the 5 elements on its surface. Only after it became a solid and stable crystal without any space cracks would the crystal be completely matured. The space heart was only useful after that. The 5-colored abyss flower was actually 5 portals, a special phenomenon in the universe, and it couldn't be moved or taken from its current location. As for the space heart, it was one of the ingredients for making original true treasures. Original true treasures? Luo Feng was stupefied, as this was another term he'd never heard of. It certainly couldn't be considered mediocre if it was a true treasure. His star map, Tower Pearl, and Shawu wings barely crossed the threshold of true treasures, and they were almost useless to universe masters. I got lucky, thought Luo Feng. No wonder the ancestral god secret region is considered the most magical secret region. He immediately ran a virtual search for original true treasures and space heart, and a plethora of information was soon displayed. Luo Feng scrolled down. Original true treasures were original type true treasures. Great beings could be injected with their energies and transform their bodies into godly bodies, but only after they became undying fighters and triggered the law ocean. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. With proper training and enhanced power, great beings could also trigger the law ocean and absorb energies. However, it was far too slow if they did it after becoming undying fighters. Lots of great beings spent millions of or even hundreds of millions of years to make their breakthrough. Although they could only absorb the energies slowly, they could improve their godly bodies continuously. Nevertheless, it was common for great beings to burn their undying powers while fighting, especially when the fights were matters of life and death. Once the undying power was burned, it would take a long time to recover, given that they had cultivated for hundreds of millions of years. Fortunately, there were multitudes of treasures in the universe that could help them quickly gain back the undying power, and they might even revive the undying fighters and restore their strengths. The treasures were useful for undying fighters. Universe knights, however, had unrelenting godly bodies, and once 30% or 50% was gone, a huge number of treasures were required for them to recover, which could be tens of thousands of times more than for undying fighters if not more. Some universe knights spent their entire fortunes and still failed to buy enough treasures. In the case of battles waged between races and universe masters, it was even more terrifying. A 50% loss of a universe master's godly body was a loss for the entire race, even for a peak race like the human race. If Primal Chaos City Leader lost one of his bodies, it would break humanity's heart, given how much energy was required to restore a body belonging to the Primal Chaos City Leader. Few treasures could restore a universe knight's power. For some universe overlords and universe masters, a specific type of true treasures was exceptionally important: original true treasures. These treasures were called original true treasures because they were valued by universe overlords and universe masters. They were not used for defense or attack. Instead, they were used by great beings to trigger the law ocean. It was 1,000 times, 10,000 times, or even 1,000,000 times faster for great beings to prime the energies in the law ocean, and different levels of original true treasures improved the efficiency at different degrees. It would take 1,000,000 years for a universe master to fully recover if he was severely injured. An original true treasure, however, could make the energy-absorbing process 100,000 times faster, meaning it would only take a universe master 10 years to recover. 10 years was a blink of an eye for a universe master. Even lower-tier original true treasures, which could only make the process thousands of times faster, were highly desired by the universe overlords. With this type of treasure, burning 10% of the godly bodies during a fight was nothing, as it would take a short time to recover if only a small portion of the godly body was turned. With the help of an original true treasure, the body could be restored in no time. These treasures allowed great beings to burn their undying power without worries. It was clear how valuable these treasures were, but the ingredients required to make them were scarce. Each ingredient could only originate under certain conditions and in special environments throughout the universe, and it took a long time for them to develop and form. The core ingredients required to make an original true treasure could be divided into several tiers. The lower tier included gold, wood, water, fire, ground, wind, thunder, and light, while the upper tier included time and space. The top tier included fusion of space and gold and fusion of wood and sky. Space heart was one of the high-level ingredients that connected the space law ocean. A space heart, together with some additional ingredients, could produce an original true treasure. Inside the floating mountain, Moshe Body stared at the crystal ball, thinking, original true treasures are normally in the hands of universe overlords and universe masters. This space heart is more deluxe, and it might be as valuable as my Wu wings. Original true treasures were demanded by the more powerful beings, as the weaker ones could only absorb undying power slowly. As for universe matters, they could absorb undying power terrifically fast, a bit like a whale swallowing everything in its path. However, compared to their unrelenting godly bodies, the average absorbing speed was mediocre. With original true treasures, they could increase their amplification by thousands of times. It was like recklessly robbing energies from the law ocean. Moshe Body shook its head. I never expected the five-colored pool to not be a real pool at all. I can't get anything out of that. But that crystal ball is a space heart. Moshe Body looked at the crystal ball surrounded by space cracks and saw blurry flames and flowing currents of water on it. According to the description, it hasn't matured yet, said Moshe Body. It should be completely solidified after maturing. Then the cracks will disappear. I can only take it after it matures. Moshe Body was worried. How long should I wait? Should I just give it up and move on? This was a core ingredient of an original true treasure. It was as priceless as the Wu wings or the star map. How could he give it up? As Moshe Body anxiously wondered when the space heart would mature, a towering figure appeared on the lake below the floating mountain. It had a huge snake tail and the upper body of a human being. However, its head was shaped like a triangular prism and bore 3 faces, all of them hideous by human standards. It had 2 muscular arms covered in scales, one of which held a black scepter. It's been 3,000 eras since I discovered the 5-colored abyss flower, and the space heart is already formed. Many whirlpools have been formed in the surrounding space, and scores of heirs have tried to get in. But all were killed by me. I need to be careful, said the towering figure. I must come here for an inspection every day and kill any heir to make sure the news won't be leaked. Although most heirs wouldn't recognize a space heart even if they saw one, words would still spread. They might attract some universe overlords and even guarding beast gods. After all, with the chance of acquiring an original true treasure, everyone would want to come here. But it belongs to me and me only. My surviving abilities and fighting power will be largely increased after I harvest it. I won't need to worry about burning my godly body anymore. It checked the cone-shaped mountain first, then used its undying power to probe all 10,081 wormholes. If it found any heirs, it would kill them. Time to see if my space heart has matured yet. Black spectre in hand, the towering figure flew to the floating, cone-shaped mountain. In the central region of the floating cone-shaped mountain, Moshe Body stared at the space heart, a crystal ball, an ingredient for original true treasures, and had a value comparable to such low-level true treasures as the Wu wings. However, because the crystal's surfaces were still displaying the 5 elements and the surrounding spatial cracks came into being and vanished continuously, it meant that the crystal ball hadn't fully matured yet. When on Earth will it mature? Moshe Body wondered aloud, a bit apprehensive. It was difficult for him to give up, but it might take as long as 1,000 years for it to mature. Waiting here for 1,000 years would be a small price to pay if I could obtain such a true treasure material, Moshe Body said to himself. Or I could head to 9 remoteness space and arrange for a soul slave to watch the crystal here. While Luo Feng hesitated, the towering, 3-faced figure flew into one of the 10,081 caves. The deep, dark, quiet cave meandered for hundreds of miles. Shrinking his godly body and shaking his snake tail, the great being flew into the depths of the cave. The great being's 3 ferocious faces were full of anticipation. I can't wait any longer, he said. My space heart, please mature quickly. Swish. The great being dove into the central region of the mountain. The moment his godly body enlarged to its original size, the great being's 3 faces gaped in astonishment at the sight of an undying level heir from the ancestral god school standing beside the 5-colored pool. At a glance, the knight of another race recognized this as one of the heirs of Borhinia Island. Heir, it bellowed. Moshe Body had assumed the appearance and simulated the breathing rhythm of one of the heirs. The knight of another race couldn't tell that Moshe Body had shapeshifted into an heir. What? Said Moshe Body, then turned around and looked. His eyes widened, dumbfounded. A universe knight. Because the universe knight had concealed its breathing, Moshe Body hadn't noticed his presence until the knight had reached the mountain center. The knight's 3 faces grew more savage as Moshe Body looked at him. The knight was furious to see an heir in the cone-shaped mountain. Had the heir conveyed the information to anyone? Usually, heirs wouldn't divulge the location of such a unique treasure, but there was the risk that even after he killed the heir in front of him, the news could be disclosed if the heir was revived. Die, the universe knight roared. Soul control. Destroy and kill him. The knight turned his head fiercely. Among his 3 faces, a single green face stared at Moshe Body and deployed the soul control technique. By doing this, the knight could completely eradicate the chance of the information being leaked. A virtualized godly force attacked Moshe Body. Unaffected, Moshe Body flew toward the 5-colored pool like a gust of wind. In an instant, he had arrived at the space between the 5-colored pond and the space heart above it. Standing there, Moshe Body felt the essences of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth springing upward and converging into the space heart over his head. If you try to kill me, I will self-destruct, Moshe Body roared furiously at the knight. Surely you realize what will happen if I explode above the 5-colored abyss flower. Stop. The knight grew so frightened that the eyes of his 3 faces widened in anxiety. He knew the situation was dire. Usually, heirs at the undying level would not know the secrets of original true treasures, yet he had encountered an heir that was aware of the mysteries of the 5-colored abyss flower and the space heart. Do not self-destruct, said the knight anxiously. Previously, the knight had only exerted soul control upon Moshe Body to prevent him from leaking information. He hadn't tried to kill him with godly force for fear that the dominant godly force would affect the 5-colored abyss flower. The environment around the 5-colored abyss flower was unique, but the self-detonation of an emperor-level undying would be enough to lacerate the space, thus damaging the 5-colored abyss flower. Although it would recover gradually over a long time, the space heart it had been creating would no longer be able to absorb energy. How is this possible? Said the knight. He is unaffected by my soul control. How is he unaffected? The knight was vexed. When ordinary heirs dared to threaten him, he killed them by using soul attack. But since the heir in front of him could completely withstand his soul control, perhaps an attack from his godly force would also be futile. As his Moshe Body confronted the universe knight, Luo Feng's earthling deity, lurking in a cave 6 billion miles away, was stunned. A knight from another race, Luo Feng said, frowning. I'm going to leave some tokens here and depart from this place for the moment. Without hesitation, Luo Feng threw a spatial ring, which had been disguised as a stone, amid the many rocks in the cave. Then he immediately flew downward, isolated an energy ripple through the microdetector, and had his slaves boot the God Country transportation. As the vague golden rays lit up, God Country transportation was ready. Luo Feng stepped into it and was shuttled to the distant God Country, in the central region of the floating cone-shaped mountain. Hovering between the 5-colored pool and the space heart, Moshe Body looked at the knight who stood beside the 5-colored pool. Boom. Suddenly, the optical computer on the protective sleeve of Moshe Body's right arm exploded. Meanwhile, a dominant godly force suppressed Moshe Body. Instead of being anxious or furious, the knight had grown unconcerned. Looking at Moshe Body, the knight said, as an undying fighter, you can resist my soul control. Good for you. But, you are too stupid. You think you can threaten me by blowing yourself up. That might have worked while I was unprepared, but you won't be able to fight back now that I've had a bit more time. Buzz. A membrane-like guarding shield, composed of and containing mighty godly force, coagulated above the 5-colored pool. Do you think your self-destruction can destroy my godly force protection? The knight was very confident. Besides, the receiver of your optical computer on your protective sleeve has been ruined by me. An heir probably has only one receiver bestowed by the guarding beast god. Unless you have a backup receiver, you won't be able to enter the world of glory. The moment I found you, I went into world of glory to supervise you, for fear that you might disseminate the news about this place immediately. But you didn't. I'm not sure whether you are stupid or kind. Despite the fact that he was being constrained by the formidable force, Moshe Body was not flustered. You destroyed my world of glory receiver, then guarded the 5-colored abyss flower. Moshe Body flashed a smile. But do you think I am that witless? The knight was stupefied. Indeed, the heir's behaviors seemed unwise. Every heir was a talented fighter. How could this one have made such rookie mistakes? But you didn't connect to the world of glory, nor did you send out the information, said the knight. If you were connected to the world of glory, I would have spotted you once you appeared in the open air square. You may have ruined my world of glory receiver, said Moshe Body, but I still have a virtual universe receiver. Virtual universe? The knight was stunned. The virtual universe of the humans. Very good. Moshe Body smiled. The instant I found you, I had left behind numerous messages in the virtual universe and set up the conditions to send. The messages will send the moment I become disconnected from the virtual universe. In that case, my friends and the super beings of my race will become aware of my disconnection. The 3 faces of the knight were growing increasingly ferocious. He gritted his teeth. Although Moshe Body had shapeshifted into an heir of a race different from the human race, he could still possess a virtual universe receiver. No matter how high the costs were, many other races had placed information networks within the virtual universe. That was because only messages from the virtual universe could be sent to any domain in the universe. Therefore, it was entirely reasonable for a peerless talent from another race, probably controlling a human slave, to carry an anonymous account receiver. The knight glared at Mosha Body. "What do you want? Tell me." "My life is in your hands," said Mosha Body, stalling for time. "Even if you give me some treasures, you will kill me immediately by the time you get the space heart. How can I trust you?" In fact, when Mosha Body found the knight, he planned to dive into the five-colored pool to escape. Thanks to his research in the virtual universe, Luo Feng had uncovered some secrets of the five-colored abyss. Flower. There were 5 abysses in the five-colored abyss flower. If Mosha Body dove into them, the abysses would transport him. However, since the land of origin would reject Luo Feng, his Mosha Body could leave this place via the abysses. Normally, no universe knights, not even this knight of another race, would know the secrets behind the five-colored abyss flower. But just as Luo Feng was about to execute his plan, he had changed his mind. For just as his Mosha Body had flown into the space between the five-colored abyss flower and the space heart, Luo Feng had discovered something astonishing and exhilarating. The life crystal inside his Mosha Body began emitting buzzing sounds. The life crystal also had 10,081 surfaces, which had intricate space lore engravings. The life crystal seemed to be resonating with the space heart above it as another bizarre form of energy transmitted into the life crystal and slowly transformed it. Luo Feng had never heard of such a circumstance before, but it seemed beneficial to him. Both the life crystal and the space heart had 10,081 surfaces. They could both resonate with the land of origin and the lore ocean, though the powers they contained were different. The resonance of the life crystal could make Mosha Body's space lore comprehension dozens of times stronger than it currently was. As a high-level material, the legendary space heart, once shaped into an original true treasure, could absorb the godly force 10,000 times faster than it could now. Apart from their size differences, they were distinct in quality. A Sector-Lord-level life crystal could be easily destroyed by an undying fighter, while the space heart indestructible. However, peculiar changes started to occur as Mosha Body appeared beneath the space heart. Under the resonance between the life crystal and the space heart, energy was continuously transmitted into the life crystal. It was because of these changes that Mosha Body talked to the knight to buy himself some time. The knight opened his 3 mouths and roared ferociously. 3 voices echoed in the mountain. "Damn it! Tell me, what exactly do you want?" "Let me think," Mosha Body said with a frown. "I know my power very well," Mosha Body told the knight from another race standing beside the five-colored pool. "I don't intend to take the space heart by force, and I don't want to die, either. But how can I be sure you're not going to kill me?" The knights' faces were a bit twisted. Suddenly, it said, "We can form an adventure team. As long as we're in the same team, we can't kill each other. Otherwise, we will be hunted down by the ancestral god school. Did you forget that my sensor for the world of glory is already broken?" Mosha Body said. "No. Damn it," the knight bellowed in spite of itself. Nothing could work. What could it possibly do? "Knight, give me a plan that can guarantee my survival, and I won't say anything to anyone," Mosha Body said. "I'll even volunteer to guard the space heart until it matures." Mosha Body kept talking to the knight while thinking about his internal world. The life crystal and the space heart. One was small while the other was huge. One had the energy of a peak sector lord while the other was powerful enough to be the core of a true treasure. One was only an ordinary creature of the Mosha clan while the other only formed after the five-colored abyss flower absorbed the energy from the land of origin. The energies resonated as they were transferred into the life crystal. These energies were the essence of the space heart, the essence that had been cultivated for a long time, and the root of a core of a true treasure. However, they were now continuously being transferred into the life crystal, and growing with each passing second. The life crystal expanded, expanded, and shrank again. Each time, it was fundamentally, radically changed. The root of Mosha Body was the life crystal. Normally, one couldn't go further after becoming a peak sector lord unless it became an undying fighter. However, its life crystal kept changing, resulting in a leap of life level just as Luo Feng practiced the 9-volume manual, which improved both his original Earthling body and the Golden Horned Beast body even after they had reached peak sector lord level. Humans had their own ways to improve their genes, like using blood river crystals. Similarly, Mosha lives had their own ways of improving their genes. However, it was more demanding, and thus more difficult for them to do it. Besides, Mosha creatures were rare in the universe, and the secret to change was only known to the seniors of the Mosha clan. Few supreme beings of the other races knew about it. Like waves crashing against a shoreline, the energies stored in the space heart continued transferring. And as the life crystal transformed, the amount of energy it could hold increased as well. Gradually, after repeated expanding and shrinking, a golden engraving appeared on the life crystal, And slowly, more engravings appeared as if gracefully painted by an artist's practiced hand. The more energies it absorbed, the more engravings came into being. There were already engravings on the life crystal, and the second set was more intricate than the previous set. Moshe Body tried to hide his joy, feeling himself evolving. Externally, he was still talking to the universe knight from another race. Okay, how about this? The knight started to say, but it didn't finish the thought. It looked up in shock. Moshe Body felt something weird on top of his head. He looked up too and saw the 10,081 space cracks surrounding the space heart suddenly wink out and disappear forever. "Huh," said the knight. From a distance, Luo Feng saw the energies in the space heart simmering. It had been stable for hundreds of millions of years, but now it was starting to destabilize after losing most of its energy. It looked deadlier now than before. The space cracks have disappeared. The knight looked at the space heart with energies simmering inside. It must have matured. Finally, it's matured. The space heart is mine now. I don't need to talk with this goddamn air anymore. The knight flew toward the space heart and tried to grab it. The space heart trembled, and a crack showed up on its surface, which dazed the knight. He looked at the space heart, stupefied. "What's happening?" the knight said, staring at the space heart. His knowledge of the space heart was based purely on research. He had never seen a real one other than this one, let alone one that was maturing. He had seen the space cracks disappear, which should have been an indication of its maturity. He was perplexed, but he suspected that a mature space heart wasn't supposed to be this way. More and more cracks appeared on the crystal. No. The knight grew concerned, but he could do nothing about it. Soon, the crystal ball and its 10,081 sections were covered with cracks. And then, energies from the space heart gushed out. It shone upon the entire mountain like a sun. The knight was bewildered but still had hope. Maybe it is going to die first, before it can be reborn. The energies are so extraordinary that they tremble the very space around us. The space heart is indeed powerful. On the contrary, Moshe Body could feel the life crystal in its body morphing, and new engravings were carved on the life crystal more and more rapidly. While the space heart was covered with cracks, a complete and complex set of engravings was already formed on the life crystal. The engravings gave out a golden light. There were two sets of engravings on Moshe Body. One set was natural, and the other set was newly formed. Just when the life crystal in Moshe Body couldn't evolve any further, and the set of engravings was complete, the energies from the space heart stopped transferring. The last remaining energies gushed out of the space heart. This both perplexed and lifted the spirits of the three-faced knight. "It looks like it has reached its terminal power, and this is its last ray," said the knight joyfully. "The evolution is complete." But Moshe Body knew exactly what had happened. He could feel the full weight of the substantial energy had been transferred to him in that short period of time. Moshe Body felt transformed at once with his surroundings. Before, the relationship between Moshe Body and the surrounding space was like a fish in a river. Now, he had become a drop of water in an ocean. He had become a part of the space. "I must study into the secret of this body," thought Luo Feng, controlling Moshe Body from a distance. "It seems that the space heart is going to crumble." Luo Feng didn't dare to stay longer. "Guard the space heart as long as you want," said Moshe, gazing at the five-colored abyss flower below. "I'll leave you alone now." The three-faced knight had already been guarding the five-colored abyss flower with his undying power, as he was afraid that the air would self-destruct and damage it. However, he stopped caring about it after the cracks disappeared and seemed to mature. Moshe Body dove into one of the golden ponds and vanished. "Huh!" The knight from another race was stunned, glancing at the spot where Moshe Body had disappeared. He vanished. Right in the middle of the five-colored abyss flower? Did he die or just flee? His information was not as nearly as detailed as Luo Feng's. The knight only knew that the five-colored abyss flower provided energies to the space heart. Little did he know was that it was actually 5 portals. "Whatever," the knight said. "The space heart has already matured." The knight looked at the space heart that was emanating forceful energies with hope. The space heart. It shone so brilliantly. Suddenly, the space heart burst like glass, and the fragments vanished. "What? How? How?" the three-faced knight stammered in disbelief. "How is it possible? How could it break? Surely that air had nothing to do with it." He had been watching him the whole time, and the air hadn't even touched the space heart. "I didn't know a space heart will break," the knight said. Was it because the air dove into the five-colored abyss flower, causing a reaction? The knight looked down at five-colored abyss flower. He couldn't think of any other reason. No, he said sorrowfully. How could this happen? The knight didn't want to believe it. He had been waiting for 3,000 eras for the space heart to mature. During the latest era, he had found that the space heart was formed. Since then, he had come here every day and inspected the mountain to make sure no other great beings would steal it. After all, a space heart was a core ingredient to make an original true treasure, and it was as valuable as some other true treasures. Any true treasure, or any core ingredient to make one, was highly sought after by Universe Knights. He had been waiting for it for such a long time but had gotten nothing in the end. The air did rush into the 5-colored abyss flower, said the knight, but that was after the cracks had already disappeared. The space heart had matured. The knight shook his head. Why? What caused it to break? The knight's pain and exasperation were too much. Its 3 faces roared simultaneously. Howl. The forceful undying power burst out of the caves in the mountain, and countless pillars of light erupted outward. This video will end here.